In the last session, we tried to understand what dementia is, how is it different from normal forgetfulness and delirium. We also delved upon the different types of dementia, the respective share on the total dementia population and early symptoms. The incidence of dementia throughout India and the world was also discussed along with the societal cost of dementia. While understanding dementia, it is important to understand its cause. As Alzheimer's dementia is the most common and affects the senior citizen, we will focus on its cause at some length. The human brain and the nervous system. The brain is a 3-pound organ that controls all functions of the body, interprets information from the outside world, intelligence, creativity, emotions and memory are a few of the many things governed by the brain. The brain receives information through our 5 senses, which are sight, smell, touch, taste and hearing. It assembles the messages in a way that has meaning for us and can store that information in our memory. Brain controls our thoughts, memories and speech, movement of arms and legs and function of many of the organs within our body. The central nervous system is composed of the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is composed of spinal nerves that branch from the spinal cord and cranial nerves that branch from the brain. The brain has 3 main parts. It is depicted in this picture. The cerebrum is involved in remembering, problem solving, thinking and feeling. It also controls movements. The cerebellum controls coordination and balance. The brainstem sits beneath your cerebrum in front of your cerebellum. It connects the brain to the spinal cord and controls automatic functions such as breathing, digestion, heart rate and blood pressure. Memory. As loss of memory is the chief sign and symptom of an Alzheimer's patient, it is pertinent that we have an idea of this important function of brain. Memory is a complex process that includes 3 phases: encoding, which decides what information is important, storing and recalling. Different areas of the brain are involved in different types of memory. The brain has to pay attention and rehearse in order for an event to move from short term to long term, which is called encoding. Short term memory. Short term memory is also called as working memory. It occurs in the prefrontal cortex. It stores information for about 1 minute and its capacity is limited to about 7 items. For example, it enables you to dial a phone number someone just told you. It also intervenes during reading to memorize the sentence you have just read so that the next one makes sense. Long-term memory is processed in the hippocampus and temporal lobe and is activated when you want to memorize something for a longer time. This memory has unlimited content and duration capacity. It contains personal memories as well as facts and figures. Coming to skill memory. Skill memory is processed in the cerebellum. This relays information to the basal ganglia. It stores automatic learned memories like typing, tying a shoe, playing an instrument or riding a bike. So, what are the neural networks of brain? As shown in the picture, an adult brain contains about 100 billion nerve cells. Branches connect the nerve cells to more than 100 trillion points. This network is also known as a neuron forest. Signals traveling through the neuron forest form the basis of memories, thoughts and feelings. The real work of the brain goes on in individual cells. Nerve cells connect to one another at synapses. The neurotransmitters travel across the synapses carrying signals to the other cells. Scientists have identified dozens of neurotransmitters. Alzheimer's disease leads to nerve cell death and tissue loss throughout the brain. Over time, the brain shrinks dramatically, affecting nearly all its functions. Coming to progression of Alzheimer's disease. As we have seen, dementia is a progressive disease and has stages with corresponding symptoms. In the earlier stage, before symptoms can be detected with current tests, plaques and tangles begin to form in the brain area involved in learning, planning, thinking and memory. In the mild to moderate stages, the brain regions important in memory and thinking and planning develop more plaques and tangles than were present in the early stages. As a result, individuals develop problems with memory or thinking serious enough to interfere with work or social life. They may also get confused and have trouble handling money, expressing themselves and organizing their thoughts. Many people with Alzheimer's are first diagnosed in these stages. In the advanced Alzheimer's disease, most of the cortex is seriously damaged. The brain shrinks dramatically due to widespread cell death. Individuals lose their ability to communicate, to recognize family, loved ones and to care for themselves. A normal brain and an Alzheimer's brain. Here is a view of how the massive cell loss changes the whole brain in advanced Alzheimer's disease. The cortex shrivels up, damaging areas involved in thinking, planning and remembering. Shrinkage is severe in hippocampus, an area for storing memory. Ventricles, which are the fluid-filled spaces within the brain, grow larger. Now we will show you a short film on dementia.
What is Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's is a slow, fatal disease of the brain affecting 1 in 10 people over the age of 65. No one is immune. The disease comes on gradually as 2 abnormal protein fragments called plaques and tangles accumulate in the brain and kill brain cells. They start here in the hippocampus, the part of the brain where memories are first formed. Over many years' time, the plaques and tangles slowly destroy the hippocampus, and it becomes harder and harder to form new memories. Simple recollections from a few hours or days ago that the rest of us might take for granted are just not there. After that, more plaques and tangles spread into different regions of the brain, killing cells and compromising function wherever they go. This spreading around is what causes the different stages of Alzheimer's. From the hippocampus, the disease spreads here to the region of the brain where language is processed. When that happens, it gets tougher and tougher to find the right word. Next, the disease creeps toward the front of the brain, where logical thought takes place. Very gradually, a person begins to lose the ability to solve problems, grasp concepts, and make plans. Next, the plaques and tangles invade the part of the brain where emotions are regulated. When this happens, the patient gradually loses control over moods and feelings. After that, the disease moves to where the brain makes sense of things it sees, hears, and smells. In this stage, Alzheimer's wreaks havoc on a person's senses and can spark hallucinations. Eventually, the plaques and tangles erase a person's oldest and most precious memories, which are stored here in the back of the brain. Near the end, the disease compromises a person's balance and coordination, and in the very last stage, it destroys the part of the brain that regulates breathing and the heart. The progression from mild forgetting to death is slow and steady, and takes place over an average of 8 to 10 years. It is relentless and, for now, incurable. Helping your family, friends, and neighbors to better understand Alzheimer's will reduce stigma, improve care, and even help the fight for a cure. Thanks for helping to do your part. Learn more at www.aboutalz.org.
Stages and symptom of dementia. The mild or early stages of dementia is characterized by forgetfulness, losing track of time and becoming lost in familiar surroundings. In the moderate or middle stage of dementia, the person becomes forgetful of recent events and people's names, becomes lost at home, have increased difficulty with communication, needs help with personal care and experiences behavioral changes, including wandering and repeated questioning. In the severe or late stages of dementia, the person becomes unaware of the time and place, having difficulty in recognizing relatives and friends, increasing need for assisted self-care, having difficulty in walking and experiences behavioral changes that may escalate and at times include aggression. Stages and symptoms of dementia, the 7-stage model. Some clinicians prefer this model, which breaks the cognitive decline down into 7 more specific stages. This model can be particularly useful for Alzheimer's disease. However, it is also relevant for other types of dementia that are less characterized by memory loss, severe cognitive decline like the frontotemporal dementia. In the first stage, there is no dementia and no cognitive decline. In the second stage, there is a very mild cognitive decline characterized by forgetting names, misplacing of familiar objects. The symptoms are not evident to the doctor and the diagnosis is negative. In the third stage, there is mild cognitive decline, symptoms like increased forgetfulness, slight difficulty concentrating, decreased work performance, getting lost more frequently, difficulty finding right words become evident. However, the diagnosis is still negative. The average duration of this stage is between 2 to 7 years. The fourth stage is characterized by difficulty in concentrating, forgetting recent events, difficulty in managing finances, cannot travel alone to new places, difficulty completing tasks, in denial about the symptoms, withdrawal from friends or family. This is the early stage of Alzheimer's dementia and lasts for about 2 years. In the fifth stage, there is moderately severe cognitive decline with major memory deficiencies, needs assistance with activities of daily living like dressing, bathing, etc., forgets details like address or phone numbers and doesn't know time or date, doesn't know where they are. The average duration of this stage is 1.5 years. This is the middle stage of dementia. In the sixth stage, the person experiences severe cognitive decline. The person cannot carry out activities of daily living without help. He forgets names of family members and forgets recent events. The average duration of this stage is 2.5 years and this is an extension of the middle stage. The seventh stage is characterized by very severe cognitive decline. The person cannot speak or communicate, requires help with most of the activities, loses motor skills, cannot walk. The average duration of this stage is 1.5 to 2.5 years and this is the last stage of dementia. Diagnosing dementia. To diagnose Alzheimer's dementia, a doctor may be a neurologist or a geriatrician. He will require the patient's medical history, medication history and the symptoms. The doctor will evaluate the following. The doctor will evaluate whether there is any impaired memory or thinking skill. In the case there is an impairment, the degree of change is evaluated. The doctor finds out how the impairment of cognitive skill affects the daily functioning, whether there is any change in the behavior, what are the causes of the symptom. Now, assessing memory problems and other symptoms. Doctors may conduct medical status tests to evaluate thinking and memory skills. The neurophysiological tests are conducted by specialists trained in brain conditions. The evaluation includes extensive tests to evaluate memory and thinking skills. doctors ask family members or friends about the patient's functional abilities and cognitive skills. This is done to rule out other conditions like thyroid or vitamin B deficiencies that cause similar symptoms. Brain imaging is another modality used to rule out other causes of dementia and to distinguish between different types of degenerative brain diseases and establish baseline about the degree of degeneration. A brain scan using either computed tomography or magnetic resonance imaging is generally included in the standard evaluation for Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. CT and MRI scans are used to rule out problems such as tumor, hemorrhage, stroke and hydrocephalus. These scans can also show the loss of brain mass associated with Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. The positron emission tomography provides images of brain activity based on blood flow, oxygen consumption or glucose use. This technique helps to narrow down a diagnosis by revealing deficits common in Alzheimer's disease that are distinct from the findings of other dementias. The potential symptoms may be caused by conditions that is reversible. If there is an underlying dementia such as Alzheimer's disease, then diagnosis and treatment of reversible conditions can improve the brain functions and reduce symptoms. Some causes of cognitive decline are not reversible. However, they might be reversible. However, they might be treatable. Appropriate treatment can stop or slow the rate of further decline. Alzheimer's and other dementia causing diseases are typically most effective when started early in the disease process. An early and accurate diagnosis is crucial, especially as research leads to robust treatment options. An accurate diagnosis is contingent upon a complete medical evaluation. The latter often is more easily obtained while the person is still able to answer questions and report concerns. Also, observers in the early stages can still recall the order in which symptoms first appeared. Obtaining an accurate diagnosis can be difficult once most of the brain has become affected. An earlier diagnosis enables a person to participate in their own legal, financial and long-term care planning to make their wishes known to the family members. Importance of early diagnosis. An early diagnosis enables a person to prioritize how they spend their time focusing on what matters to them most. Early diagnosis can prevent choices that might otherwise be made in ignorance, such as moving far away from the family and friends or making legal and financial commitments that will be hard to keep as the disease progresses. Individuals diagnosed early in the disease process can take advantage of early stage support groups and learn tips and strategies to better manage and cope with the symptoms. An early diagnosis gives families more opportunities to learn about the disease, develop realistic expectations and plan for the future together. Often this process results in reduced stress and lessened feelings of the burden and regret later in the disease process. Challenges in early diagnosis. The main challenge to early detection of diagnosis is lack of awareness as well as the fear and stigma attached to the disease. This leads to underreporting of symptoms. Many a times, due to lack of awareness, Alzheimer's dementia is confused with normal aging, or many a times the symptoms may appear so gradually that the person affected doesn't recognize them. Thank you.